Hi guys. So I decided today we're gonna talk about military weaponry. I can't remember if I've done a video on this sort of stuff in the past or not, but first thing I wanted to talk about just happened to be this thing. That is the Winchester Model 1897. That is the American military standard issue shotgun from World War One. The reason the Americans used it in World War One because that war was primarily fought in trenches, which are narrow, tight quarters pathways in the ground. And if anyone watching this has ever used a shotgun, they can tell they're pretty effective at close range. Okay, let me just put it in perspective. Shotguns do not shoot bullets, they shoot shells. There's a lot of different types of shells. But the one that the Winchester uses is double-arm buckshot, which is effectively a plastic casing filled with 9 steel ball bearings. And when you fire the weapon, they just go everywhere. Yeah, there's a reason they used it in World War One, and it's because it was pretty effective. You see, there is one solution, like, there's one thing that shotgun has, or doesn't have, that other shotguns do have, that makes it special. And that is a safety feature known as a trigger disconnect. The trigger disconnect effectively means that whenever you want to fire the weapon, you have to, pull the trigger. Like, you pump the shotgun and then have to pull the trigger to fire. With the trigger disconnect, when you don't have the trigger disconnect, you can just hold down the trigger and every time you pump the shotgun, it will fire. Meaning, effectively, every time you pump the shotgun, it'll fire a shell. Meaning, literally, every time you take the slide on the front of the shotgun and just go while holding the trigger, if you hear a click, you will hear a bang soon after. And that bang is the sound of Imperial Germans deciding to just get un-German engineered. That weapon was so effective that in the American military, it gained nicknames such as the Trench Sweeper or the Trench Broom. Imperial Germany... World War I Germany was Imperial Germany, by the way, not No Germany, that I can't mention because it just gets demonetized. But Imperial Germany nicknamed the Winchester the War Crime Stick. Because it was so effective at just clearing out their trenches. They claimed it was a war crime and then claimed that the Americans were barbaric and unskilled with a rifle, and that's why they would use such a weapon. They then claimed it was a war crime to use a shotgun. Yeah, let me just state, that was the same Imperial Germany that brought flamethrowers and mustard gas to world wars. The Americans just kept using the shotguns. To which the Germans then replied with, if they caught any Americans with a shotgun or shotgun shells, they would be executed. To which the American government had 2 responses. To the latter of those 2 things that Germany had said, of being caught with shotgun shells, the American government just replied with, if. And if the Germans caught an American soldier with a shotgun, there is a high chance the American is going to have a look in his eye like, I'm here to eat beef jerky and slam fire this shotgun. And I'm out of beef jerky. Because that technique with the shotgun I was mentioning earlier of just holding the trigger and quickly pumping the shotgun, that technique is known as slam firing. That allows you to empty your magazine of 6 shells in about 3 or 4 seconds, depending on how quick you can pump the shotgun. That is what gave the weapon the nickname the Trench Sweeper. Yeah, the thing was, the Germans could say they'd execute any American soldiers they caught with a shotgun, but the question was, would the German that caught the American with a shotgun live long enough to execute them? And the answer to that is no. No, they would not live long enough to even call for help. They would just be slam-fired. Like, they just end up with a shotgun being slam-fired at them. It's just like, Yeah, this is a problem. Oh, that shotgun. It was standard issue in World War One for obvious reasons. World War Two, again, standard issue, obvious reasons. In the Korean War, it was standard issue for the simple reason of, if the Bushes are going to start talking Korean, you might as well hit all the Bushes at once. And then in Vietnam, the Americans tried to quit making the shotgun standard issue because it wasn't lethal enough. To which the American military grunts basically just replied with bringing their own personal shotguns from home and using that instead. Because again, if the Bushes are going to start talking, you might as well hit all of them at once. Also, by the time the Vietnam War came around, buckshot had evolved significantly. It wasn't like ball bearings that are like that. It was proper, absolute. Like, if you've ever seen a BB round, it was effectively like 70 of those crammed into a small plastic container and then fired out of a shotgun, and they were designed to just go everywhere. Am I the only one who feels Germany is very grateful that the Americans didn't have that in World War One? Because if the Americans had that in World War One, the Germans would have had a bit more of a problem than they thought. Particularly when you pair that with the fact that that buckshot was still usable with the Winchester, which is what a lot of grunts had as personal. Meaning you can slam fire about 70 bullets per buck at someone with 6 buckshot shells per magazine. Also, would like to point out, it never has been and never will be a war crime to use a shotgun. That's only because the Allies won World War One. If America was on the side that lost, then a shotgun would almost certainly have been made a war crime. Because it's only a war crime if you lose. I suppose there are a few criteria for war crimes. First of all, and this is why the Americans decided to use nukes against Japan, because they just destroy everything, it's only a war crime if you leave evidence. Nukes don't exactly leave evidence, so they're not a war crime. And it's only a war crime if you lose. Hence the reason the Winchester and shotguns are not war crimes. Also, I think the other reason the Americans liked using shotguns, it's always better to ask forgiveness than permission. The Americans really didn't care, because like the Germans are going to go out there and claim it's a war crime to use a shotgun. And that's the same Imperial Germany that brought flamethrowers and mustard gas to the world wars. And then decided to commit war crimes. They also then decided to invade half of Europe in World War II. Effectively, the German Reich, they knew no limits. They didn't really care about stuff. They could claim it was a war crime to use a shotgun. It never has been, never will be.